Right here. Good evening. I'd like to call to order the Town of Ulysses Planning Board meeting for September 16th, 2025. First order is a roll call of board members.
Jeff McDonald.
Linda Little.
Carl Pankowski, Chair.
Mo Flag. Bart Gregg.
For tonight's agenda, we have the following items. The town board member reports, if we get one. Approval of the August 19th meeting minutes, privilege of the floor. Old business, we have the following item, Wilson Tram final site plan review. And continued discussion related to stream recommendation to town board. New business. We have review of draft comp plan chapters for community well-being and capital facilities, services and utilities. And then board member and staff reports. Any discussion or amendments?
No, I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as written.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I don't see any town boards out there, so we'll skip past that. Has everyone reviewed the draft minutes for the August 19th meeting?
Yep. I was not here.
Any corrections or revisions?
No.
I have a motion to approve the draft minutes.
I motion to approve the draft minutes.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Your opinion, yes. Right. Privilege of the floor. I don't see anybody physically other than us here. I don't see anybody other than Neil's online, so I think we'll.
Did I make a motion to close the privilege of the floor?
Yes, please.
I just did.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Alright. Old business, we have the Wilson Tram final site plan review. Don't see anybody here for them, but. Applicant Sean Ritchie, on behalf of the owner Victoria Wilson, proposes to construct a new 85-foot tram system from the upper portion of the subject lot down the steep slope to the lower portion of the lot near the shoreline. Board previously reviewed the sketch plan proposal on August 19th and scheduled final site plan review for today. I did see the sign posted on her lot, the public notice of it. We didn't plan any official public hearing on it.
No, we didn't think we needed it.
Right.
We didn't get any comments.
Not, Niels, did you get any input from anybody?
No, we didn't receive any comments yet. So, and then the BZA has a scheduled hearing for tomorrow for their related variances.
All right.
So we table it for now?
Well, the resolution is set up to go ahead and actually,
Or was it like?
with the
Yeah.
exception
Oh,
of.
the BZA, no, I have it, I have it, I
Yeah.
just didn't see where it said it was.
At the,
This.
at the resolution.
This.
Bottom.
Here.
Oh, there it is, yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
The BZA approval of it, so I think for our part. Do any of you have any? Well, let me proceed through this. I'll move draft resolution 2025-015 for discussion on the decision for final site plan. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And board members had time to review the draft resolution?
Mhm.
Or do you need time now?
No. It was
No, I saw, I just didn't see that one.
Yes. Right. Do I have a motion to approve the resolution? Means you get to be the reader.
What was, so why does it have to go to the BCA?
Because of the lake setback.
The setback, okay,
The sidelines, there's tons of room.
right,
Lots about 300 or 300 to 400 foot wide. It's a huge lake lot. And they're just about dead center on the lot. So from that aspect, but you can't avoid the lake setback.
but they're not encroaching any more
Than what's
then-
already there.
than what's already encroached upon.
Right,
yes.
Correct, okay.
Yeah, it's actually, they're gonna pull the old tracks out. New Stub Marine is gonna pull the old rails out and they're gonna come right down the same railway and the old set of steps at the bottom of the old one. They're gonna actually get down to ground level or within a foot or so of ground level, saying step off of one of their little platforms down there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there is an existing seawall down there that's out about 30 feet. So there's a little piece of lawn there at the back edge, and at the steep slope coming in there, so.
Okay,
Yeah, Jeff and I were down there.
Yeah.
We walked the steps
Okay.
down to check the bottom out and that.
okay,
So it fits right in against the hill. There is a tree alongside of it down near the bottom. They're just gonna leave that there. There's maybe one or two, couple 2-inch limbs that get trimmed off. But other than that, the 12-inch trunk of the tree is
Yeah.
gonna stay where it is, so. Just,
okay.
yeah,
They need a motion to approve it,
yes, please.
okay?
Yeah, that means you get to lead that.
Yep. Planning board, I have it here.
Okay.
Planning board resolution number 2025-015. The resolution of final site plan approval of the Wilson Tram location at 1587 Taconic Boulevard, Town of Ulysses, tax parcel 18.1-1.4. Go to the plan. Now therefore, the planning board resolves the following. The planning board hereby grants the site plan approval for the proposed site plan as described above. And as shown on the site plan noted above, subject to the following conditions. It's a condition of approval. All required area variances from the Town Board of Zoning Appeals shall be obtained prior to construction permit issuance.
Second,
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. So real quick, just I just printed out the resolution, so hopefully it worked on the printer there. So Carl, if
Yeah.
you could just please sign that before the end of the meeting today, that'd be great.
Okay,
Here, here, Carl.
well. You realize the printer was right up behind you.
so if it's,
It's not,
It says.
but it says
Well,
draft.
Well, this one doesn't include the
Yeah.
A's and A's, that sort of stuff. That's why the reprint. Thank you. Thanks, Niels.
No problem.
Streams.
Are these new?
no. Oh, you,
These
did
are
you get a
It's
black
the
one?
same one.
No, they've always.
Some of them have always been wood.
Oh. I don't know,
Somebody else had a wood one. Maybe it was
It
cider.
was me.
But you?
you're starting on it.
Oh, these are the.
He resigned in August.
He did.
Yeah,
I wasn't here. in August,
Yeah.
So
So,
these are the older ones, those are the new ones.
well, fine.
Okay. Next, we have continued discussion related to the stream recommendation to the town board. I did a rewrite this morning and sent it out to give all of you a chance to look at it and that. Bart had at least one change that we want to incorporate in there because the name of who can legally go out and decide whether it's a stream or not is somewhat changing, or the
Maybe,
title of
yeah.
the engineer.
Yeah, they should look into it, whatever it is, yeah.
where did it say?
I saw,
It's in the first paragraph up there,
Oh,
the second sentence, a New York State licensed geologist. And that's where Bart is suggesting we put parentheses hydrologist. Because it might be a different title that people are using now instead of.
Yeah,
Right.
there's a lot of different titles.
Yeah.
wait, the first pair.
Yeah,
Under
this one,
two recommendation,
right there.
yeah, the very first bullet. Second sentence.
Oh, geologist, okay, there it is. I'm
It
sorry.
could be the town engineer, it could be just about anything.
Well, I'm gonna add hydrologist in parentheses in there as a,
Or what if geologist / hydrologist,
we can do that. Is
Right.
that better?
or does it make a difference?
what,
If we do a hydrologist / geologist,
yeah, that'd be fine, because, well, back
depending on the.
when I
situation.
got my degree, hydrologist was like a minor or major of geosciences. Just
Okay.
like a geophysicist was. So,
Yeah, okay,
Yeah, but anyway,
You're definitely up
Then that
behind me. I
catches-
don't know anything about either. so.
I wanted to major in hydrology, but. We wanted to do that,
You just didn't want to get all that, did you?
yeah. I was an oil field at the time, so.
No.
Any other recommended changes in there or additions you would like to see made?
Well, my only reaction was, I mean, I had to read it a couple times to
Yeah.
get the gist of,
Just.
and I knew the topic.
Right.
It's gonna be, I'm just wondering if there's some way we can summarize it in the beginning simply. I mean, with all these words, we're not saying that all these words need to be incorporated into the zoning law.
No.
Right. I mean,
But-
what in essence, we're really asking them to allow a broader use,
Well,
a broader set
I don't
of
think-
criteria.
We're not asking
No.
for them to allow, we're already allowed. That's what legal said
Yes,
yeah,
as we go, so.
but zoning implies we're
a
not.
much narrower set.
So by incorporating that, we'll be modifying the law to, so we're trying to broaden the law to incorporate.
Well, broaden it in like the second paragraph, but at the same time, if we broaden it, pointing out that what we're adding to it exceeds what the current zoning is. Which is kind of what I see as the problem now, because all of this, when it gets into a land record, is gonna sit there and somewhere 5, 10, 15 years up the road, somebody's gonna do something else with this property. And that's when the addition of a stream on a boundary of a property is gonna jump up and bite them. Because they're gonna be dealing with the BZA or somebody else to deal with the setbacks from the stream.
Yeah,
And we have a lot of small properties in this town, and if we add another 50 to 60 intermittent streams, particularly to the waterfront, where we've seen some 50-foot lots and 47-foot lots and stuff like that. And you put in a 75-foot setback because of the steep slope, you're already into the neighbor's property.
right,
And the way it's currently written, if you go just to USGS, or even if you include the DEC, there are only 13 intermittent streams on the waterfront in the 7 miles of Ulysses.
okay,
If you bring in the GIS stuff, which comes out of the Tompkins mapper, there is now 50 intermittent streams in that same 7 miles.
okay,
There are some properties that get blessed with an intermittent stream on both property lines. Which even a 300-foot lot is gonna take a major hit.
sure,
And that's. It particularly very heavily affects the lake shore and the conservation zone, but it's not immune in the rest of the town. It all the way to the western boundary of the town. You get out there on, what is it? Not Boardman Creek, it's something similar. Out there around 227 and just south of Mayo Road,
yeah,
that valley through there.
right.
Anyway, that creek going through there.
Mhm.
Currently, and USGS has 2 intermittent streams coming off of it. One goes up into the golf course and another one goes someplace else. But if you go to the to the DEC or the GIS stuff, you have 9 intermittent streams on that same 1.5 miles of stream. So most of the land sitting out there is going to be dealing with stream setbacks.
Yeah.
And I realize in 2019, when they changed the definition of a stream from a perennial stream that ran 6 months or more of the year to the USGS stuff, they brought in about 50 additional intermittent streams just in that change of definition. And they're already into the town, and I read through the steering committee minutes and town board minutes, and there seemed to be almost no discussion whatsoever from the public that anybody realized that all these additional streams had been added to what people are dealing with.
Yeah.
If we go around and add another 50 intermittent streams on top of that, there are parts of this town that are gonna be very difficult to essentially use the existing land. It's good job security for the BZA and, you know, Habs in the lake and all of your water issues and that. I understand that part of it, but the idea of just adding this on to the public without the public ever knowing that it was done.
Yeah.
I have a real problem with that because when Rich Goldman interviewed me, he asked me if I supported zoning. I said I did, but I think it needs to be applied fairly, meaning that what is currently published as being approved by the town board, which is what we want our citizens to adhere to. I believe the rest of us, appointed boards and that, need to follow the same rules.
Right.
And so, to your point, what we have written here isn't gonna be any clearer to the public. You know, of what's
it's not.
going on. I mean, it's still
Right.
pretty confusing.
It's really
Yeah.
it's really just an interpretation of how planning board, the zoning board, and other people in the town are
Planner
gonna
and
look
town
at
code, yeah.
the
Yeah.
regulation and know how it should be applied, that it's not gonna be that just because there's another stream that comes up, if it's not defined by zoning, the automatic setbacks and things don't kick in.
Yeah, so what I'm saying is that what we need is like a,
Executive summary.
yeah,
Well, that's what
I
I.
didn't wanna go there, but yes. Just a summary comment that says, in essence, the guideline is geology, but there are situations that cause more streams to be recognized and acknowledged and dealt with. You know, something like that, so that, because just by reading those words, you don't get it,
Right.
you know?
No, yes, agreed.
Yeah.
That's what I'm looking for. That's why there's 5 of us instead of
Sure.
one of me.
Okay, I do have a
Right.
question.
Yes,
On the
Yeah.
last one, it says if the property appears to contain wetlands or stream flood zone, what is a stream flood zone?
it's the floodplain next to the stream. A
Stream.
good example is DD3, where, that creek runs on the
Right.
south end of
Right.
DD3,
Yeah.
where he's filling all that dirt in and that
Yep.
sort of stuff along there, because there is when you go to the new, floodplain maps and that sort of stuff that just came out, they show a floodplain along part
That's
of
on
that
the north
stream.
side, isn't it? Not on the south side. I thought it was the north side that.
No,
was the wet-
it's, north side is the pointy end up here.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
but
No,
that was
that's a little separate drainage coming
Yeah.
across there.
Right.
No, it's the south side
Oh, that is.
where that other creek comes up there,
Hmm.
not Coldwater Creek. It's-
So how can he fill it in without the DEC if it's a floodplain?
Well,
That's a good question, yeah. There's a big pile of dirt out there and it
Yeah.
dug down pretty far.
yeah, well, and,
mean-
and I don't know exactly where the line is there. You know, you get into the brush and trees next to the creek and that, and he may be just staying on the upland section above that.
Right,
Mm,
And
Yeah.
building it up to make sure he's above the 100-year floodplain and this sort of stuff
Okay.
to eventually build on it.
Hmm.
But anyway, that's really where you get into this. That's the only reason I added that in there, and it's probably not the correct wording for the floodplain or what it should be.
no, that made perfect sense to me, I mean,
Yeah.
we have
So
that
now-
intermittent stream that we reviewed
On-
In
on
here?
there,
has a huge floodplain once it gets to our property.
okay,
And, you know, where you can
where it
actually
spreads out,
see,
you can
and
see,
you can see like a cliff that's, you can't just walk down,
Hmm.
you know.
So I have another one.
yeah,
So even on my road, there are a lot of gullies
yeah,
and the town put in coverts.
yeah,
Going across the road, but it just goes out to the field.
right.
So what is that? Wetland?
Well, that's why with all the new stuff from the
DEC
DEC,
will
where
determine.
you have, if it looks like a wetland, and their definition of wetlands actually have to do with what plants grow there.
It's plant soils and
You know.
I know, but it's
a hydrology.
But
It's a gully. When it rains, that whole field gets wet. So is that a
But-
wetland?
Probably not.
And same with all the other road, the town, when they put in all the gullies and they came
The
across
ditches.
the road,
Yeah.
the ditches,
Yeah,
they came across the road, they directed the water or they dug a channel right on property lines. So now, is that a stream? Or is that a wetland or what?
according to Nate, when had
Yeah.
that discussion in the meeting, which, you
Yeah.
know, I know you weren't able to be there, but he said that a lot of times intentionally streams were diverted.
or diverted.
So it is, ditches
Not,
are,
these are not streams, these are dry. When it rains or snow or, you know, heavy
Mhm.
rain, they start to run.
Well, then
Yeah.
they would most likely not be classified as an intermittent stream, they're just drainages. And in that case, it doesn't apply, but that's really where you get into the stuff coming from the GIS data that surprisingly, after I worked a bunch with Kim Moore's group to try and get them to produce that as a map for us.
Mm.
It turns out the Cornell University had a group in 1991 that put that GI data together that shows up in the GIS data. It's almost as old as the USGS
Mm.
stuff.
Mm.
And so I've gotten it twice now from the Soil and Water Conservation for Tompkins County to say, do not use that data without verifying it. Get a real engineer to verify it, you know, particularly on the lower end of this stuff. So when you get down along the lake shore and you have a drainage that runs from Highway 89 to the lake shore, in my case, it's 375 feet. That GIS says an intermittent stream. The chances of that really qualifying as an intermittent stream, I think is pretty slim. But I'm gonna hire somebody as soon as I find one to actually go through, pay a guy to get it done and figure this out. You know, cause my problem is when I check out, my daughters have to deal with a lot.
Yeah.
This landmine of the BZA saying that there was an intermittent stream on that north property line is gonna come back and play hell if anybody tries to do anything on that 87-foot wide property. You know, there's no real estate.
Yeah.
The two neighbors to the north that are built up over there, neither one of them have any clue of this discussion happening in the background, because when they built their houses, it wasn't an issue.
Mhm.
Well, there's a lot, yeah, there's a lot of streams that are on the map that don't exist.
Yeah, well,
Because,
and that's,
or they're dry as a bone right now.
Well,
Well, they're dry
this-
most
this
of the time.
Everything's
even
dry. as a
Teganic
bone,
is pretty-
yeah.
Yeah.
Teganic
Well,
Falls
they're
are pretty dry right now.
season, they're pretty dry.
Yeah.
Because there's one on my road that is on the
Well-
map as a stream. There's water on it when it rains, but there's no water on it.
Now, but even the regular perennial streams are getting pretty slow.
Yeah, but
And
I
that's
think-
because of the culverts that come down.
This takes care of that for now, until zoning can get changed.
Right,
Which is really the key here, that
and
if it's not one of the ones that's called out specifically sourced in zoning, then it doesn't get dealt with in zoning, other than what you find in field conditions.
right, and that's why the second paragraph, the
Hey,
second.
maybe it's a problem.
Yeah.
So in zoning, it specifically refers to the USGS
Right,
streams,
yes.
right?
right,
Those are the only ones you can apply the zoning required setbacks for.
no, it doesn't, this.
That's
Yes,
that's
yes.
what it says, yeah.
Okay, bullet number
So if you're
one,
not a
specific-
USGS stream,
That, yeah.
you
it
don't
says that.
apply, you don't qualify for the setbacks unless the planning board goes and looks at it and says, well, that really is a stream, or it needs more protection, that we're not
Right.
gonna ignore it.
Yeah,
But
but we
that's
have.
different than the
right,
setback that's in zoning.
Right, yeah, I gotcha.
Like because of all the farmland that has changed over the years where they put in gullies,
tiles.
drainage tiles. Now all of a sudden, we have water coming down where we never had water coming
Yeah,
down.
I know.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and then that's really why Jeff did a very nice, then bullet number two is what Jeff gave me to go in here. And, you know, but I feel that we need to identify those when we use those additional streams.
Mm-hmm.
To identify them in the property record as being something that was beyond the current zoning at the time that it came. Now, what the zoning is gonna be in the future, and none of us have a tight handle on that.
mhm,
You know, my recommendation to the town would be to shift to use the DEC decision of whether it's a stream or not. You know, the DEC streams, the
well, are we
intermittent run,
required to do that? I mean, we
Well,
have to.
we have to
Right.
deal with the DEC if it's already a DEC stream. So why would we as a town wanna, you know, have our own definition of streams rather
Right.
than use New York State DEC?
Right.
Right, so it isn't as simple as that. I mean, when we do a site review and we go to the site, and we see something that looks like a stream, but it's not on the geology map. Then it's, we need to
We
make
actually,
sure that-
Niels goes through and looks at the DEC stuff, the GIS stuff, and the USGS stuff.
right,
If you remember that Israeli couple down there, that's their driveway comes off of right by the Black Diamond Trail, but they're actually down in the conservation zone down there. Because there was a little drainage ditch near where they're gonna build the house that shows up on the GIS stuff as an intermittent stream. There is an actual USGS stream farther south in that same property.
Yeah.
And we deliberately spelled out those differences in the property record when we put it together in that. And so that's what we're doing now already, is to specifically identify, you know, where the source of the stream, but include all the data in there so that you know,
right,
as the planning board, what you're looking at, what you're
Right.
dealing with. And that's why in here, you know, the idea of what we determine, I think, as appropriate, you know, setbacks or what we wanna see. I don't think, according to what I read, what we got from Nate, we can't legally require it if it's not one of those identified sources.
Hmm.
We, you know, the setbacks and that stuff, but we can certainly say we wanna see this or that. I
We
don't know.
we can't enforce the zoning setbacks on there.
Right,
Right,
But if it comes up under seeker or environmental review in general,
yeah.
and we think that there should be a 20-foot setback on that stream or drainage or whatever, we can
We
enforce
can
it.
enforce,
Okay,
okay,
yeah.
That's what Lee said.
like
Um,
on a ditch. That is gonna be water in
right, in the
to the
street,
lake, and we're trying to protect the lake,
yeah.
we can require a 20-foot setback
Yeah.
versus 75 or something like that.
Or 10, just to keep
10.
construction out, you know,
Right,
whatever,
right, yeah.
whatever seems
And, you know,
appropriate for them.
Sure.
the typical construction barriers or, you know, deliberately running water into there without some means of slowing it down and.
so with a ditch that's running, let's say, because of drainage tiles or whatever, is on the road. So the setback now is 50 feet for a house from the road, right? So.
Front yard, yeah.
Front yard, so you'd have to tell them, no, 75 feet now,
To get,
because there's water there.
This ditch.
yeah,
And it's running, so now instead of 50 feet, they have to go 75 feet, which of course brings up the cost of the house. You know,
Yeah.
75 feet back, new driveway, electrical and whatever else.
yeah,
So is that correct?
Well, that's really, if USGS has changed it. So it's actually running up the roadside like that, then.
But it's now
setbacks
running,
are in
but
our
it's now
zoning.
running all year because of all the farmland
Yeah,
that put in
it's-
drainage tiles. You know, several hundred acres, so that water is now running constant.
But unless we force
Okay,
the
they're
issue
picking it up.
and hire a, you know, geologist or.
Well, it's only,
Well-
right now, that would only apply, the 75 feet only applies if USGS has it mapped.
Right,
As
exactly,
a
yeah,
stream.
right.
Right,
unless we think.
No, if USGS has it mapped as a stream, it's 75 feet.
for
Right,
If they
zoning.
don't have it mapped,
Right.
then we can set whatever distance that we think would
Yeah.
be appropriate.
is that
Chances are-
stated in this recommendation?
Yeah.
And
Where-
chances are those maps won't change.
In the last.
Years and
bullet number 2
Oh,
specifically addresses what we're talking about, these.
Is there anybody left at USGS?
Yeah, they're never gonna change anything in a long time.
Or to
No.
see.
They-
A lot of the people
Yeah.
we had on the water committee that helped did that terminated,
Oh, really?
because they were funded federally. even
Oh,
though they
yeah,
were
they're
New
all
York
gone,
State. Yeah, well, no, because they were in New York State,
Right,
but
the federals, you know, were all
Right.
taken off, yeah.
because the state should be able to take care of this.
Bart, yeah. Something sitting over there.
He has the question mark for them. Yeah.
I'm still not seeing where it specifically says we have the right, I mean, I'm sort of, to me, it reads as if it's in, we kind of have this right, but it doesn't really give us any guide rails to stay between, right? So you're talking about this bullet point, just to be very clear,
Right,
right?
Right,
yeah,
All right, So essentially bullet point number 2 is. If we're looking at a project, we're doing a project review. And there's nothing listed in any of our sources as a stream,
Right,
But we
the
happen to
ones in
see-
zoning, right, we see one or the.
yeah, then.
It's very.
Okay, so zoning 212 can be used as a starting point, but 212 would say, for instance, 75 feet.
Or 25 feet or
Or
50
25
feet,
feet,
there's a whole
whatever.
table in 212,
Okay.
124 that, depending on where you're physically at in the town. So it's typically 25 or 50 feet, but if you get down in the steep slopes on the lake shore, then it jumps to 75.
That makes sense to me.
Yeah.
But okay, so can you riddle me this, sir? After, I say 212 regulated streams and may be used as a starting point. So many words for other streams, waterways, but should not be applied as a strict regulatory requirement.
Well,
Can we
because-
clarify that? Because I think I know what you're
Oh,
saying.
yeah,
And what I
right.
think I know you're saying is,
That's what I'm looking for, is to get, because if you go to what Nate gave us,
uh-huh,
the 1, 2, and 3 responses of Nate's.
Yeah.
okay,
This in here pretty clearly spells out to me that if it's not identified in zoning, we, the planning board, cannot legally
right,
enforce setbacks,
right.
The zoning
Right.
setbacks.
the zoning set.
Unless it's in our zoning.
Right.
Otherwise you can't.
Right, but that's where we get into this. We know there are places out there that they're intermittent streams, there are water areas and stuff that we're gonna want some version of a buffer on and that sort of stuff. And how do we get there some way that allows us to do that? Because the last thing I wanna do is set the town, find somebody that's litigation happy and jumps on this, and it costs the town a lot of money just to be able to allow us to say we wanna treat this other waterway.
Yes.
Right.
So how does this do that?
It doesn't really, I don't think.
Probably not,
Because this is not gonna establish the legal boundaries for that. Nate did that already
We're, yeah,
in his write-up.
yeah. I sent it to you this morning, there's a hard
Yeah,
copy.
you've gotta go to
for it.
Nate's thing and read his interpretation, and Niels can jump in on that too.
That's why we went
But-
to town legal, to
Right,
get
yeah.
them to figure out what we were really dealing with.
Number 3, if you're wondering, the only way that we would ever be able to do zoning in this is gonna have to be changing the zoning ordinance itself.
Yeah. Although.
And even then, it's gonna be a problem because,
Well, the one caveat we could use is that we could require that they hire a geologist and get it
Right.
determined
Yeah,
whether
but
it is
that's-
actually.
and we've always
it's spending a lot of money on somebody. I mean,
Right.
a geologist to come in and
Oh.
look at a ditch,
Drainage,
you
yeah,
know, of $10,000. No,
Yeah.
I'm just saying, it could be a lot of money.
right. And
But the DEC will do that if,
well, that's why the
We require them
wetland,
to go
well, the
to-
wetland determination, if you see like the north end of DD3 where
Right.
that kind of wet area is out in
Yeah.
there. It's too small for the state acreage, but if they determine it's one of these other 11 reasons, the special clauses they've got in that, it could still end up being that they require setbacks and that stuff. And since DEC now is on the hook from state law that they have to do that, why would we not require the property owner to send in the form to the state DEC?
right,
And the state DEC either comes back with a negative determination
Right.
or positive determination.
right,
And that's
And
it.
And if there's a positive determination, then the landowner has to work with the regional DEC and figure out what the
Right.
actual
okay,
delineation is. So like
Yeah.
your wetland above you up there, your source drinking ponds and that stuff.
Yeah.
I would expect very likely qualify as a wetland. And that's where I think, that's why I put paragraph 4 in there, even though this is specifically dealing with streams. But the wetlands get kind of included in this. And that since the DEC law has changed, and it's very clear now that you gotta go to the DEC and get a determination from them. I think that's what's holding up that Lincoln project down there at
Right.
like 1145
Mhm.
Teganic. Because they got a positive determination from the DEC on that lakefront property.
And now they have to determine
Yeah, they gotta work with the regional to figure, I think
Right.
that's why that one has disappeared for several months.
Yeah,
Yeah,
While they sort out what's what.
right.
so really, the way, I mean, for us,
Yeah,
the DEC is what we go by,
right. I
and
would,
that's it.
for wetlands, for me, it's very simple. If the
Yeah.
DEC says it's a wetland, it's a wetland, and they'll tell you what the boundaries are.
And
If
that's
the
it.
DEC says no, property owner, you got a gift.
Okay, and what about a stream then?
Well, the streams are not addressed
Just-
specifically that
you-
way.
People need to stop saying stream. And let's just call it a water course.
Okay,
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, that's probably
The
The
better.
only streams we're dealing with are the ones, the USGS streams.
right.
Everything else is just water on the property.
It
that
could be,
we're
it could
looking
be an
at.
inch, could be anything.
Right, and we're
Right.
determining whether or not we think there's any. How close we think we should let people go there. No matter what we do, we're not gonna go beyond what is in zoning for a USGS stream. The odds of
Right.
us even picking 75 feet, unless it's Taganic Creek, are
Well,
pretty low.
Well,
If
to
it's
get
a-
the creek,
we're
it
building
has a
up-
100-foot setback, just plain blanket. in
We're
the
we're getting more flexibility
Mm.
to look at some of these other streams that are mapped, but not necessarily
Water
USGS,
Right.
water courses, yes.
Yeah.
You know, and having the ability to say, yeah, we think that's an issue there. And if the homeowner doesn't like it, then the homeowner can go and hire a hydrologist. And tell us that it's not, but if we're telling somebody there's a drainage ditch or something, or a little tiny stream that didn't get picked up, but very obviously has streamside vegetation and things, and the base is established, it's not some scoured.
Yeah,
thing,
if it's a
you know,
full time, right, I can.
We're gonna
understand
say,
that,
well,
yeah.
you know,
But
we would like to see a
fortunately,
25-foot.
If you
buffer,
live
yeah.
anywhere on the banking
Mhm.
of Ulysses here, there are thousands of gullies that
Mhm.
cut through your property because they had to run the water somewhere. It wasn't a stream, it was just a gully that they had to run the water
Yeah.
off of the gullies.
The
that
water's
got-
going
A
down. yeah,
lot of them
doesn't
were
care.
established by the railroad,
Yeah.
Exactly.
because the
Oh, yeah.
culverts under the railroad are what carried
And
them.
I live on the Black Diamond Trail and there's a group of them that go underneath the Black Diamond Trail and just,
They were not pleasant.
and they're not real, they weren't really.
Some of
dumb,
them
they
are
were just-
stacked on top of each other as they filled in.
So, I mean, there's, there's.
Right. So. How do we word this where we understand it?
That's
Yeah.
right.
So
that's the
that
hard
they
part.
can understand it,
That's-
because
We're struggling.
That's the
if
hard
you're
part.
struggling with it,
That's what I'm looking for,
Right.
is help from all of you guys. So far, I've gotten an input from Jeff. And I've got nothing else from the other.
I
three.
know, I
did
It's, it's no indictment and that kind of stuff.
It's
It's,
very
we need to
difficult.
work together on this.
Well,
to
the
come up with
conversation
something.
is helpful.
It's
Yeah.
very difficult to
Yeah.
word this because really it should be done by legal.
Well,
Because whatever it is, it's gonna be challenged.
yeah, well, I expect this is going, Niels is very likely going to run it back by legal anyway before
Right,
we would sign it and send it to the town board. The town board will likely do the same thing,
yeah.
depending on what they do with it.
And with this letter, all we're doing is asking the town board to agree with that
Well, to either
process.
make an admin change to the zoning to clarify what's covered and not covered.
Well,
hang
that
on,
would
hang on,
be
hold that thought,
changing
hold that
zoning.
thought, I'm writing this down, hold that thought.
Yep,
But that would be making it zoning.
yep, hang on, keep going.
Either make, what, say again,
Nate, what?
either make,
Make it,
asking the
yeah.
town board to
Oh.
either make
Yeah, the-
a decision.
right,
It may
if
be
you
there,
look
but
at up there where did I have it here? On the very first, where it says recommendation, town
Carl,
board make an admin
speak
change.
it.
Okay, it's town board
No, no.
make an admin change to
Okay.
current zoning. 212, I'll let you write it down here,
Thank you.
yeah.
What's an ad?
Well, there is in the zoning stuff. The possibility to go in and make a minor correction when
edit.
you discover something like an edit and that kind of stuff. Without going through all the formal changes and this kind of stuff.
Okay, so
Okay.
To 212-124, the setbacks. That's really where this comes in, is in that paragraph.
okay,
Or issue a resolution to accomplish the following. You know, they could do it as a town board resolution, but it won't carry the same weight as changing the zoning, and then it's harder to track to know that it's out there.
Okay, so that should go in there,
Right, well, that's under paragraph 2 where it says recommendation,
right?
that is what that sentence
Yes,
is.
that's what, right there.
Okay,
Where are you?
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
There.
But-
Here.
According to legal said this is the way
Look for a record.
it already is.
No, I had it here just now.
Yeah.
Oh, here it is.
Yeah,
Oh,
Neil,
I got it.
Neil,
recommendation.
go for it.
Read that.
yeah. Let him weigh in.
There we go. Okay, I just wanted to touch base. So, I mean, this is your guys' recommendation. So unless you direct me to send your recommendation to town legal for his review, which you can do, I would just try to word it, be happy with what you do, and then we'll send it to the town board because it's your guys' recommendation.
Right,
Once it gets to the town board's agenda again, I would be, I mean, pretty sure that they'll kick it to legal for review before they either do a resolution or a code amendment, at which time I would anticipate that they would kick that back to you guys for an additional review before they take action. But unless you actually tell me, please send this to legal for review before we send it to the town board, I'm not gonna do that.
I'm comfortable with just us creating it, because the town board will definitely run it to legal. You know, and I don't think we need to involve it twice, we already talked to him at the beginning of this, so.
Yeah, I agree.
But for the 5 of us, I really want us to come to something that we understand what the hell we're asking for.
So, but what Nate said, Nate basically said that this is the way it is now.
Okay,
That what's proposed in here to how we're asking people to deal with zoning and streams is actually what's already legally established.
okay,
So they don't really need to change zone. They need to change zoning in the future, but they don't need to change zoning now to be able to do this. This is actually status quo, what's in here. And people are misrepresenting the zoning and they're misrepresenting the enforcement of zoning by applying things to all those other streams that are not USGS map streams. So when we go out, if there's a stream that comes from the county on GIS, if we enforce the 75-foot setback because they mapped it, we're not supposed to do that.
on GIS,
Right,
because it's not on the.
it's not what's called out in
Right.
zoning. And
It's
in
not
terms,
recognized by our current
Okay,
town
right.
zoning.
and in terms of all the other streams and applying, looking at them and being able to apply mitigation, what in essence is mitigation under seeker. You know, we can already ask people to do that
Right,
based on the environmental conditions.
okay,
So we don't really need additional authority to do that. Really, what we're looking for is for us to start doing this, and then also for the other boards like ZBA, building permits, anything else that has to look at that, is to look at it this way.
An example of where this comes in is last year when 1474 Teganic split that property down there. And the north side of that property had a GIS only intermittent stream coming up it. The
Mhm.
south side had a USGS stream. And that's the one that had a couple entrances off of Teganic coming up in there, and they moved the line to get to 400 foot and that sort of stuff. Anyway, what's in the property record now shows an intermittent stream on that north property line. No clue that it does not meet current zoning. So that property record has one of these, what I mentally refer to as a landmine sitting in it. For them, for some builder that buys the north half of that lot to go and build on that property and all of a sudden discover, oh, there's a stream on this property. Where did that come from?
Well, it wasn't hard to see if you walk the property.
Yeah,
okay,
Yeah.
but in
But
that
really-
case, that stream on the north side, you said is.
right,
But that's a GIS stream,
right, GIS only.
right? So the landmine, if I'm hearing this correctly, is that it shows an intermittent stream and could be without the knowledge that you have. And somebody could say, well, you have to have this setback.
Right,
Where at this point, though, we know now, as of tonight,
right,
we can't tell them that.
right. And
Right.
that's why burying those things in the property record are going to cause problems.
Right,
And we're doing it. And it was probably predecessors to me and that sort of stuff that, you know, they show up when you pull up the property on the Tompkins map. If you go in there, it shows up in there and that sort of stuff. And that's really what is confusing. I've talked to the county on this and they say they treat all this stuff as informational, not something that's legally binding.
Mhm.
But if you just get the printout for the property and it shows up on there, like if you go in here, the parcel view for the property, it shows all these.
Because it's on the,
Why-
yeah, you're gonna
Right,
get,
yeah,
you're strangle yourself.
probably a good deal.
Carl,
You
So
know,
right now, our zoning states that the classification of a perennial or intermediate stream will be determined by US Geological Survey topographical maps, or determined by a New York State licensed geologist or Thompson County Soil and Water Conservation Zone.
Yes,
So that's our zoning. We can't change that.
right,
That's what we have to go by.
right.
That's it.
That's what I'm feeling is the ag limit of, but as Jeff points out, under seeker and that sort of stuff, we have sort of a side door to bring in other things that, you know, when you look at the property and this stuff, or because you see it on the, when you do the parcel view, it
Mm.
shows up as an intermittent stream.
Yeah.
We want to really take a look at it and figure out, you know,
Exactly.
and that's
But unfortunately, our zoning doesn't state. that.
right, our
Right.
zoning does not say
If
that.
if we
That's-
go to somebody's house and there's a stream and it's not
Covered.
listed anywhere, we walk away from it. That's it.
No,
We can't do
No,
anything with that.
according to Nate. We have
Is that true,
responsibility.
Nate?
No,
Niels.
that's-
Oh, Niels, I'm sorry, Niels.
If you read in the
No.
several page, that red I just gave you,
Yeah,
the
yeah,
Nate
yeah.
stuff, there are
When-
more pages in there. that
When,
get
when we
into-
had the conversation with Nate, he was really clear
Yeah,
that if it's if it's a stream,
yeah.
it is a stream and you have responsibility. It's part of the waterways, the
We
state
could-
requirements.
we
to
could
manage
go
them.
and if zoning wasn't in place and there was a USGS stream on there,
Yeah.
we could require
Right.
a
That's-
75 foot and it's a USGS stream, but it wasn't in zoning. If that piece of zoning didn't exist, right?
Well, it's actually 25 feet.
Well,
Depends on where you're at.
whatever it
Does
is,
it require
but
setback?
whatever, we could still require a setback, whether it was in zoning or not, under environmental review.
Exactly.
So
But
the
if it's
only
not
thing the
listed-
zoning does is say that USGS, if it's mapped, it has to be whatever is spelled out in zoning.
But if it's not listed anywhere, if nobody has it listed as a stream, we can't just say that's a stream.
We can,
Yes,
we
we
can
can.
require them.
Nate said.
Really?
Or-
I don't wanna be on the legal side
And
of
if
this.
argue the point, we can require a hydrological study.
I know, but still legally, it's not listed in our zoning.
Doesn't matter.
It doesn't
It's
matter.
in all the other
If I was-
environmental
if I was a
regulations.
builder, If I was a builder and you told me that was a stream and it's not listed anywhere, I would get a really good lawyer fast.
And then you'd lose,
No,
Because
why
state-
would I lose? It's
Be-
not listed. It has
because
to
it
be
doesn't
listed.
have to be listed if it exists on site when you're doing environmental review.
Anyway, that's why I'm pushing this issue.
There's-
Because we were embedding these things in property records
Yeah.
without realizing what we were doing.
Right.
That's why I said that 1474 Taganic, embedded in that property record, is that non-USGS stream on the north property line.
But we would have, under these guidelines from Nate, we would have required setback. And why wouldn't it be in the record for that
But
property?
I think you need to clearly spell out in the record that this is not per
Okay,
current
that's what
zoning.
you're saying.
That's why the-
Zoning, but
Bullet
per-
number 2 and bullet number 3, annotate the record to show that this stream data is not recognized by current town of Ulysses zoning. So,
but is by New York State
Well, Let me
water.
ask you a question.
Yeah.
In zoning, is there,
Yeah,
yeah,
Niels.
yeah,
I Neil,
That feels-
please,
Just getting to Mo's question. So Linda and Jeff are correct, Mo. So, but I do want to clarify, it's not just related to seeker. So under New York State law, both the BZA and the planning board have the authority to place conditions on an approval. So if a board finds that there's a wetland or thinks that there's a wetland or a stream on a property that hasn't been mapped, you guys have the authority to place a condition of approval saying that you want 100-foot buffer or whatever buffer it is. You guys have that
Yeah.
authority. Building department does not, though. Only the boards have the condition. So that's under state law.
That is, okay.
Yep.
That's what I was trying to get an answer. Nobody seemed to know that.
There's a lot of people around.
Oh, you did say? Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't hear state law. I'm sorry. Because it just seems a little bizarre
I
to
know.
be able to do that. Because then you're actually playing king, you know, I don't want you to build there because I see a little water,
Yeah,
you know,
somebody
that type of thing.
bring a tractor and put a ditch in there real quick.
Then it's,
right?
an- then it's an Article 78 and somebody files a complaint.
Yeah.
Arbitrary and capricious.
No, and you could challenge it, depending on the impact on the property and that sort of stuff.
I'm
But-
just looking at the
but I-
zoning to
I
see
want
what
us
it
to-
says.
To
Yeah.
clearly define that if we include these things in our decisions,
Mm.
that we recognize and point out to the recipient, the property owner in the
Yeah.
process, that this exceeds current zoning, but this is why we feel it's important and that sort of stuff. And this is the grounds that we're using to bring it in, like under seeker,
I don't think
Well,
we should say
He was saying. Neil
that
was
it
saying-
exceeds zoning.
Yeah, just if you have it in the condition on the resolution for approval,
Mm.
that there is a second stream, that suffices.
But the
Niels,
property
did I
records
understand
that you're creating when the town, when planning puts together their review and that sort of stuff. And it shows these other streams on there that are not recognized by our zoning. Do you wanna leave them on that record with no annotation that says?
No, I think they should be annotated, but I don't think it should say exceed zoning.
Mm.
Because we can't exceed zoning.
or state law?
It's
Okay,
right, it's separate from that,
Mm.
and it should be
Yeah.
identified as a stream or a water course or whatever we're gonna call it, that was identified during site review
Right.
that we have imposed these conditions on. And I don't know, and it's a really question for Niels and legal,
Hmm.
if that should be spelled out in the actual resolution. Or what, and because there should be some kind of record, and if there's a
Yeah.
note in the file, it's gonna be gone, but if it's in the resolution, it'll hang out longer.
well, they
Yeah.
go back and dig through the files too, cause in my case, when I modified my cottage down there,
Yeah.
there was a 1990 kitchen renovation. They went through all that stuff as part of what they were looking at. So that's why I know the old property records.
Yeah,
It's in
okay.
there.
Mm.
And if it's in there without something to indicate that this was not a stream at the time that this record was created, as far as the zoning was concerned. If you just leave it in there with no annotation or anything like that, I think you're setting the
I
property
think
owner
it should
up.
go in the resolution,
Resolution is a condition,
because that's our piece that we're
yeah.
passing on.
Okay.
But what if we don't put it in the resolution, like in the case of that Israeli property down there, we did not require a setback from that GIS stream.
Mm.
But it's identified in there in the document as this is from GIS,
Mm.
this is USGS, this is the DEC, so clearly. Neil's had it in the record very clearly where all these sources came from.
Okay, one other thing that we haven't talked about, or I haven't heard us talk about, is what if they show up with a really good, survey map, and it shows the stream on there that we weren't aware of, or GIS didn't have, or the 7.5 doesn't have. I
Well,
mean,
then they
Well,
put it
that's
on.
really where the site visit comes in.
Yeah.
To see if,
then we go look at that and say, no big deal or big deal,
right,
and we follow this thing. All right. Can I make a couple of recommendations? here?
definitely, that's what
Okay.
we're looking for.
Let's write this in bullet points to start with.
Okay,
Write it in bullet points. That way it's very clear. This is where we are right now. This is where we'd like to be. And these are the consequences if we don't.
So it would be the planning board and the zoning board would go by. Will go by what the zoning states right now. Okay, whatever the
Yes.
zoning states right now, whatever. Organizations we have to use, and then the next bullet point would be. Unless.
Right,
Or
right.
except.
Right, so it's very
Which
clear.
would say if
Yeah.
there is wetland or if there is a stream visible on this site, when we go to a site review.
Right.
Then it's determined by the planning.
yeah, I would leave the wetlands separate from the water courses.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
so
Because the
make two
wetlands,
different- yeah,
I
make
think
two
are
different.
clearly covered now by the DEC. The
Water
DEC requirement that says if you got a wetland, you gotta get their determination.
But I think we should have a bullet point pointing that out.
Right,
'Cause it-
Yeah,
right, so,
clarify.
so we say,
So the
just
first
as an
thing say,
idea, we say, these are the rules, constraints, guide rails, whatever, that we're required to work
Right,
under.
right,
First one, we only look at the USGS map,
right,
right, to
Right.
start with,
Right.
that's our first thing. If during a site visit or the.
no, and DES also,
Oh,
both of them.
well,
need to vote.
DEC,
I
the
mean,
only
DEC.
reason I brought DEC in is because if it goes for a 239 review, the county is gonna look at the DEC stuff.
Okay,
And
so
even
that's,
though the DEC is not, has streams that don't show up in the USGS,
uh-huh,
the county brings it in,
Yeah.
we're certainly not gonna override it.
Right.
no, so, but that, see, this is where I get confused often. Because if the county brings it in on DEC, we had nothing to do with that, we have to comply,
Right,
right? So that's not us, we should spell that out,
I,
okay?
well, that's why bullet number 3 in there says, if
Okay.
a
Yes,
DEC
yeah.
stream not
That's
recognized by
right.
current zoning, that specifically drives to that, you
Right,
know, you're gonna deal with it, so include it.
right. So
First.
USGS,
Yeah.
DEC,
Then,
And any other
Then-
sources.
any other sources, including site visits?
Yes.
And submittals by the
The
property
property
owner or
right,
whatever.
yes.
Okay, I got it right.
And then you
Yeah.
should also
Make your
put in
comments,
that if we do find something that we believe is a water course or a wetland, that the property owner might have to get.
Right, right, yeah,
hydrologists
exactly.
To do it,
But-
but we have to write that in, because if we tell them while they're standing there, they're gonna be a little upset.
Well, it's actually in the zoning that we can.
that we can require.
Oh, I know, but
Yeah.
if you're gonna put this in, you want people to be able to read it and say, oh,
Right.
yes.
I mean,
I
that's where the
understand.
zoning is in conflict.
I
Because it
know, I
already
just looked at it.
covered For that, because that's where, I know we'd always operated under the requirement
Yeah.
that if it was a suspicious wetland, that we could require
It's
Yeah.
very vague when you read the zoning, because it does say, yes, the US Geological Survey is one of them, doesn't say anything else. There is no other
it. Yeah,
organizations, but now, of course, the
Right.
DEC is mandatory, so it's not in, we don't have to worry about that.
yeah, that came up with the Spruce Row
But I
expansion.
do like the classification of wetlands as the US Army Corps of Engineers. So you have to call up the US Army.
Alright.
Or New York State Department of Environmental Conservation to confirm the wetland upland boundaries.
Yes. Well, that's, when you go to the state now, you file this form with the state
Yep.
DEC. And they come back with a positive declaration, they tell you right in there
Right.
that you need to get a hold of regional DEC and figure out what the actual delineation of that wetland
yep.
is. So that's, to me, very clear in.
Have you seen?
Yes,
Yes.
the Lincoln
Oh,
property
the
on,
li-
at
okay.
1245. I think
I just wondered if we had
1145
eyes
Taconic.
on you
Yeah.
on
Yeah,
that
they
area.
had
Yeah,
a positive declaration in there,
okay,
and that is very useful seeing one of those
yeah,
to say,
seriously,
okay, so, and it tells you, you gotta get a hold of regional DEC and figure this out, and that's why that one has kind of disappeared on hold for months.
yeah.
Do we have wording from that? Can we use that wording?
Niels, could you get us a copy of that positive declaration that's part of their documents for that one? Is he still out there?
For which one?
I think it's 1145 Taganic, that Lincoln property down there. That we looked at about a year ago, they were going to modify the house, and then they come back now and they're modifying the garage on that property.
Yep. I can do that. I also have another one that we just got for Iredell. Both are good examples.
Okay. Yeah, those would be
That'd
very
be
useful
pretty
for us to
accurate.
see,
Yeah.
to how they're worded from the state. And that, because that's really, for me, that's how I would like to see
Do
us
you
deal
remember
with
their
wetlands.
names?
What,
Do you remember their name?
Lincoln?
Lincoln, let's see if I can find it, because I carry everything here.
I think it's 11:40, I think it's
It's on memory.
11:45.
Oh, your memory's short. I'm writing it here and I can't. read it.
Well, anyway,
All right,
11,
so-
so it wasn't 13:32, no.
no,
Because
I
have
think it's
that.
11:45.
Okay, I might have something. We'll see in a minute while you're talking, I'm up.
So USGS is, we have to comply with USGS for water courses,
Right.
the DEC for wetlands.
The DEC very clearly controls the wetlands.
Okay, when does Tompkins County get involved? At what point could they be involved?
The 239 review. If it
Okay.
goes out for that, which some actions require, some don't. And I don't
We
have.
don't.
Yeah,
we don't-
we don't have to
What
necessarily
drives that.
delineate those.
Right.
We depend on Niels to know whether it has to go to the county or not.
Makes it very difficult, doesn't it?
Well, we're gonna simplify it.
Well, that's what I'm looking for.
Okay.
How did I get roped into this?
started talking.
You were right.
He said, wait a minute, I have to write this down.
You should have better write this down.
That's very.
Yeah,
Anyway, you sort of stuck your hand
I
out.
did, I know.
But that's what I'm looking for, is help like that,
Mm.
that between the five of us, we get it to something we can understand,
Yeah.
you know. I have a
Well, just
problem, I'm an
look at it.
engineer and I'm used to reading a lot of stuff and it doesn't bother me, the
Right.
extra wording.
Right,
A
we have
lot of
to,
other people glaze over by the second sentence.
Yeah. well, that's one thing, you have to remember who our audience is.
Right.
You know, and,
Right.
yeah,
Well, that's why I reduced it to one page this morning, so when we send it to the town board, they're not getting buried in the weeds either.
right,
So the town board and the public.
Right.
right,
Yeah, right.
right,
And
Yeah.
And that's really what we're looking for, but for me, it's fair play with the public. You know, if we want our citizens to follow the zoning.
Yeah.
I think they need to understand what they're dealing with.
we had,
Well, it's actually a pretty simple because we have to follow whatever the
Right.
code is and whatever the New York State government tells us to do.
Right,
And then after that would be that one line, except,
yeah,
right,
but
and
we were,
that has to be worded correctly.
but we were starting to get away from that, both with the BZA and with the planning board.
yeah,
And that's really where this correction, I feel it's just tightening, get us back to where we belong and. You know, I hate lawyers and hate to provide them with opportunities.
But the except, if it were
Yeah.
except, if there is a state law that states it, we have to put in that state law, or at least
Be
the
able to
number.
find it, you know.
Yeah.
and-
Oh, I can find it, I probably have it here.
Right, anyway, that's that, to be able to bring it up, that's just like with that cannabis thing, the night we held the meeting and all these citizens sitting here kept going. Well, why can't we just say no? And I did not have at that time at my disposal.
Yeah.
The paragraph from the New York State law that says, if you as a entity did not opt out of allowing dispensaries
uh-huh,
within the allowed time frame, which expired several years ago.
right,
The next paragraph down says you cannot say no.
Right.
It meets the business guidelines and that stuff. And that's what I was missing that night, to be able to present that to the public.
right.
I think that goes beyond that, though. I mean, there's been other times where people in the public have made comments, assuming that because we're the planning board, that we can do whatever we want.
Right,
And don't have to follow zoning.
Yeah.
Don't make people
we've had those people.
understand this.
Yeah,
So, by the way, speaking of cannabis, I'm given to understand that where H&H Financial used to be. might
there's
be
a second one considering going in.
Yeah, is that correct, Carissa?
Well, it would be,
This or something.
it would be town of,
The
Yeah,
village.
but
the
this
village.
would be the village, then,
Village of
right?
Truman Square.
Okay.
So
And they're,
we don't have to
they're
do
more than I think it's a half mile or some distance between dispensaries. There is a state
Oh, is there?
limit.
Okay.
Well,
how
there's
close
also,
it can be.
I don't know if you heard that state law where schools, you have to be a
Right.
certain, well, some of those. It's not from the store, it's from the property line. So some of these stores that opened, their property line was here and now they measured it and it was only like, let's say, 90 feet. Or whatever it was supposed to be, so they have to either move or close
Sells
up
the
and-
property.
yeah, or cut off the property, I guess. But that, yeah, all of a sudden,
yeah,
somebody
it's
came up
the
with
pro-
that and said it's actually the property line,
Right, that
not the
makes sense,
building.
yeah.
Well, the upside of this is we know where the smart Girl Scouts will be during cooking.
Right, exactly.
Mo, you and I were sitting right ahead of them last Christmas.
What?
That's the building you and I were standing in front of at Christmas.
Oh, I know, right across,
Winter
yeah.
Fest, yeah.
Yeah,
It was all boarded up at that time, but
yeah.
anyway,
Alright, so,
so. Can I get you to put in bullet form and run
Yeah.
it back by us?
Once he
and then-
gets ChatGPT back.
no, I'm gonna do this by myself because
Brute force, yeah.
as much as I use it, I also know how much it fails
Well,
us.
that's really what I'm looking for. If it takes us another meeting or two to come to what we wanna say,
Okay,
I'm perfectly comfortable with that. It took us 6 months to get legal
Yeah,
response.
what's more important is that we all are in sync.
Right.
with
now
it.
we should
Right.
go over talk.
Cause we're the ones gonna be dealing with this most on a regular basis. It comes in and we need to know how we're gonna handle it and that sort of stuff.
Right.
And that's really, you know, the town's direction to us. Linda was there with me that night when I used the Salo property as an example. Because there is an intermittent stream that goes up through the middle of the Salo Preserve. That's a GIS only. And if you run that up the middle of that preserve, putting in walks and everything else where our parks say you gotta stay 100 foot back, then there's
Right.
not much left. It was a
Yeah.
good, no owners other than the town example to use to say, this is what the problem is.
Yeah,
Because the other one that got hit with this was the
Yeah,
Jacksonville
Tiger Deer.
Park.
Right,
They wanted parking on their entrance, which should have been allowed, but because whoever put the documents together for them included this GIS only stream in there as a stream,
well, I think the,
yeah. And that,
yeah,
it cost them, so I would like to see us avoid that in the future. All right, where am I at on this agenda here? Now that we've spent a good amount of time on this. What I've done is today I went and bought myself a camera so I can sit down and actually, you know, do a video camera. So in the minutes, like when we go to the chapters and that stuff, and we hold discussions like this to be able to put the details together, to be able to go back and capture them, because the town, if I'm playing that back, it plays continuously. I can't stop and back up without doing the whole damn thing over again.
oh,
You know, I can't start at minute 13 and go to minute 15 to figure out who said what.
yeah.
Not that I know how, but I'm a dinosaur dealing with
What?
it. When you go online
Yeah.
and look at the video,
Yeah,
the YouTube video, is there
Yeah.
a way to back up to minute 17 or minute 13?
yeah, you drag the line at the bottom.
Yeah, you can pause it, you
Okay.
can drag it to wherever you want.
Search,
Drag it back and forth.
Yeah.
All right, I will experiment with that.
okay.
Anyway, I learned something new. That's good.
There, what is kind of irritating about YouTube, there's not that jump back 15-second button like there is on Hulu or Netflix.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, those are handy.
Expand it as big as you can and then move it as small as.
Right.
The smallest increment.
Right.
And then you get 1,000
But-
commercials in
but-
between.
You guys, you know, when we reviewed we talked about the first 3 chapters of the comp plan, to be able to go back in and figure out which one of us said what and put it in a set of notes that we can look at after the fact. you
I
know.
don't want a record of that.
Well, anyway, right now I've got your summary, Jeff, and that sort of stuff, but I would like to be able to do that. So I will go in and experiment with being able to back it up to capture some of that.
Yeah, okay.
Yes,
It creates a transcript. If you want a transcript,
it does.
yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, that's great.
never used that, but that's a good idea.
You can also take the audio,
Great. It
Yeah.
doesn't separate out people. It just says, it's just
That-
gonna say.
Somebody
this
said
is
that.
for Everybody.
Right, that's fine. I could watch the film and figure out who was saying what, but anyway, I wanna be able to do that for us, because particularly until we get a clerk back here and that, it would be useful if we need to be able to go in.
Oh, what is the plan for?
what?
The
Clerk.
position is posted. It closes a week from Friday.
Okay, so it's
So
gonna be a
hopefully-
bit of.
But we do have some applicants already, so hopefully,
That's-
it'll be a-
Get somebody relatively quickly.
No,
That'd be
nice.
very useful.
Yeah, well, Miss Molly. The, what about for,
What about what?
our
our alternate.
Alternate, yes.
Well, apparently he hasn't submitted a formal resignation to Niels. That would, Niels can use to trigger, Niels is trying to get hold of him to get
Don't we're allowed two alternates.
right, two alternates, but
So,
could advertise for at least one.
yeah,
That's what I'm hoping, we get it out there sooner rather than
Yeah.
later to be looking for an alternate, because it's very useful to have one.
whoever applies, I'm sure they don't care whether it's one.
You're right. So the next thing on the agenda then, I think we've beat streams enough for tonight. We'll let Bart help us out on this. Is the discussion on the community well-being and the capital facility services chapters. Do you guys want to bring them up and get into some of that now, or or it's 10 after 8? Or,
I only have one comment, then we can go home.
well, that's fine. That's really,
Yeah.
if you want to review it at home and just send it back and we'll bundle it that way. I'm game to do it that way.
Right.
and
I mean,
Put on a coffee pot or whatever else. will
I mean,
keep
we've
you
had
right.
so much discussion. I like discussion because looking at the comp plan reviews is kind of out of context.
yeah,
Right,
You know,
Yeah.
and that's been making it difficult.
and
for
you guys are
Yeah.
helpful listening to you guys for me, you know,
Right.
to understand
Well,
this.
I'm game to go through.
But
That,
we-
that's really what we got
That's
done.
really-
My
I
brain
feel like we've
hurts
been through
tonight,
the.
but
virtually
my only comment tonight is 9.3.1.
Okay,
Identify opportunities to expand access to fresh food for residents, collaborate with local farmers and businesses on expanding the existing farmers market by adding pop-up vendors. And then in quotations, it says like art and handcrafts.
Yeah.
I
they
mean,
don't have anything to do with food.
I know,
It should be like CSAs or,
Snack-
or
yeah.
farms or something.
but
That was just a misprint, probably.
Well, this is,
unintentional.
And then you've
Yes.
got to get the Board of Health if you're talking about food.
Yeah,
That gets complicated.
yeah, well, I don't, do veggie stands have to deal with Board of Health?
No, because they don't cook food.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
as well, if they bring it from home, it's not cooked there, so.
Yeah. You can't, it's cooked stuff. It's fresh foods off the. Fine, although you probably should have the water
But-
tested.
but like
when
in
they
the-
wash it with-
Good, well. Period.
Not to get into the weeds, but E. coli in our water.
Well, yeah, that's pretty important.
it is.
Yeah.
I mean,
I
I
know.
think that's,
And what is it that's causing it across the board?
yeah, I mean, that's a big jump from the rest of the state.
Yeah, it's like a much higher percentage.
4 times as high as the state average, so
4 times, what's,
it's 24 and 6%.
remember that, yeah, I mean, I believe it.
I figured they
And
would.
they sampled like
Did you get your well first?
they sampled like 100 wells or something like that.
Oh,
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So do we want to go into these chapters? Or?
We'll send you comments.
I'm game.
well, we'll talk about it next time, but
Yeah.
yeah, I'm just.
Well, by the time we meet the next time,
Yeah, they're done.
Oh,
they are
okay.
already out to the public.
Okay,
So-
then we'll make an effort to get this done.
And, yeah, there should be more chapters going in there because we're rapidly closing in on the 6th of October, which is the next open house at Racker Center.
Okay,
And by that time, everything has to be out there
Yep.
for the public. So,
oh,
Well, and these two did seem to be like planning board
no, there's not a lot in there that we would deal with.
promote, I mean, good point, but.
what about?
Directly, or did you?
There wasn't one,
Whatever
there was
the whole
in,
deal with making the sign code more fair. and-
I still have that hanging out in my background to get back into
Okay.
that, but with the comp plan and that sort of stuff. with some
So
of
that doesn't go into the comp plan,
No, that's actually zoning,
right?
which is really sort of listening to Caitlin, her general thought on this was that once we get the comp plan approved, the year or two down the road would be to update the zoning and try and fix a lot of the problems in the zoning stuff.
That's what happened last time,
Yeah,
yeah.
because there was a 2013 zoning and then a 2019 zoning.
Although the zoning should say something about we don't want signs everywhere.
Yeah, well.
Right, or signs.
And like now, this restriction on electronic signs, I think at some point we're going to have to recognize that technology has changed and. You know,
Yeah.
if you look at the drugstore across from the grocery store,
Right,
their sign up there, everywhere is it's. You know, electronic scrolling and this kind of stuff. And
the high school,
Yeah, the high school entrance has one, but that's the village, but anyway.
Speaking of that, did you see the canvas?
Yes.
Sign, that looks better, I think.
Oh, not any stacked
Yeah,
together.
they
Yeah.
stacked it on top, yeah.
Yeah, I really like that a lot better. The
The
cannabis
one
sign
at
by Mama's
Mama
Pet.
said, yeah,
Yeah.
Mama said,
We
It was-
came up at our last meeting. and
I
we-
think it looks awkward. With
Yeah.
it looks awkward.
well,
Yeah.
they're two different sizes.
different sizes and it's just, I don't know.
But it looks
you know,
better than when you had
Okay,
it.
do we have to have a review of what we're allowed to say about signs versus water courses?
Not right now, we want to get through the water stuff and then.
Where is 79? 70? Do we have any,
Perry City Road turns into 79.
no, per,
Oh.
79's further
South.
south.
That's,
We're not,
we don't,
Okay.
I don't,
That's,
Right.
and-
okay.
no,
'Cause
we,
I noticed that Halco has a new sign up on their building. It's almost half the size of the building.
oh, up on top of the hill.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay,
Wow.
yeah, but they're like.
Yeah.
4 miles, 3 or 4 miles south of Uredale,
Okay.
that's where 79 goes
I
across.
mean, that's in
Yeah.
Hector, right?
Well, no, it's 79 crosses Tompkins County from,
Isn't it?
the
Yeah.
road started, it starts over there, Whitney Point or farther east, comes all the way through Ithaca and goes
Down
straight across Tompkins County, he said.
to Watkins, at least.
Yeah, but isn't there, but then there's the part on this side. Right, Perry City Road turns into 79.
No, Perry City Road ties into 227, which if you follow down the valley,
There
puts
you
you
go,
on
It
79.
becomes 70.
Or if you take
79
two,
goes all the way to 88 or all the way.
it goes through Mecklenburg.
No,
Yeah.
doesn't it go?
Perry
That's-
City is.
Yeah.
It does go to Burdette, yeah,
Yeah.
Oh, that's what we're
Burdette.
saying.
Yeah.
Never mind.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
Watkins Glen, yeah.
yeah,
that's, Burdette is in Hector.
right, yes. All right, on all those hot notes.
I'll make a motion to stay for another hour. I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second,
All right, all in favor?
Bye.
Thank you, guys.
thank you, sir, for your patience.
No, that's what